What's up, guys? KAMIKAZE-FOX coming to you from another exciting season of IRL racing. This is International Racing League. Going to be kicking off Season 2 of F2, which is going to be taking place here at Spa-Francorchamps. Obviously, where the real F1 race was held this weekend. And the F2 race, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But first, let's get into some drivers. Got a small grid of drivers here for the preseason test. We're going to do an 18-minute qualifying session, 50% race. Get some of the drivers acclimated with each other and their cars. Looks like we've got some returning drivers from last year, new drivers. And but preseason has been quite significant here in the past. Not necessarily here, but in previous seasons, 2 out of 5 times, the driver that was quickest in preseason testing went on to win the championship. So if you're fastest today, you've got a 40% chance of winning the championship. Back looking at F1 in seasons past here at IRL, preseason testing, Cameron Weston-Edwards was the fastest driver back in Season 1. Season 2, it was Kiki Malikic. Gabriel Ryan was fastest in Season 3. Season 4 was Felix Negwer. And then last year, Lewis Marshall was the fastest during preseason testing. Got 11 drivers on the grid today. And take a look at some of who those drivers are as we run down the list. Nexus Aspect, new face for me this year. That's going to be Kevin Harrison. Looks like he's in the Sauber. PTRL Naz is returning driver Jorge Correa, taking a drop down from F1 to the second tier into F2. So this will be his first year in F2. Josh 9867 is simply known as Joshua. Don't have a last name for him. And JME Morris is simply Jamie Morris. And then Nexus Iceman is not on my list, I don't believe. So I don't know who Iceman is. He's clearly a Kimi Räikkönen fan. IRL Marcel is Marcel Haller. This will be his second season in F2. He also just wrapped up a season of International Racing League Group 4 racing on Gran Turismo Sport for the PS4. Mr. Sneaky Pete is going to be Jorge Correa's teammate for the year. Mr. Sneaky Pete was also his teammate in IRL Group 4 racing. That is Andre Pastana. And C. Westone is Cameron Weston-Edwards, your league president for International Racing League, taking a step down from Tier 1 Formula 1 racing into F2. Neon Rapid is Jared Fosbury. He'll be returning for another season of F2 racing. He's also a league administrator. Dan T and 90, or Dan Tand 90, however you want to pronounce that. That is going to be a new driver this year. That's Daniel Tanberg. And then TTG Flying Cooper is going to be Harry Cooper. There's the 11 drivers that are joining us so far. There's get a couple of them on their outlaps. We will pick out Josh as the first one. And it seems that Codemasters has failed us in the audio department once again. That should make for a very uninteresting qualifying session. Hopefully it will be sorted out. I've actually run into this issue a couple of times so far this year. I've done some preseason testing for a couple of other leagues. The Garage Racing League, GRL, which is an American league, they are in their inaugural season. They are starting next week, but their preseason testing, we've run into the same audio issues in their 2 preseason tests. It seems to be hit and miss with Codemasters during a spectator that it'll actually work or not. And around goes, and around goes Josh into the wall at the top of Radion, right before he gets onto the Kemmel Straight. So, luckily for him, preseason test looks like damage is on light or either turned off as he heads into the grass out of the way of the oncoming Red Bull. So we'll pick up Marcel Haller in the Ferrari. And we'll go over a couple of things here. 14 minutes in the session. Again, qualifying session. Oh, and he struggles as he comes down that corner and loses the back end. So Marcel Haller, this is going to be his second year in F2. Actually had a fairly competitive year last year. where he was racing. Actually had quite a few good races last year. Picked up 4 podiums after 16 rounds. I don't have a whole lot of notes on F2 last year. I did not commentate for F2. I actually tried to participate in F2 last year myself and did a horrible job, so not going to be doing that anymore. We see the fastest lap is set by Daniel Tamberg. As we continue to watch Marcel Haller. So new this year for IRL, you see some of the drivers, there used to be Formula 1 Tier 1 drivers, now down in Tier 2. That's going to be Cameron Wissett-Edwards, Jorge Correa. Some of the other drivers that may be in there is going to be Adrian Storm. Adrian Storm was actually F2 last year, moved up to F1. Looks like he's back in F2 again this year. And same thing for Louis Quinlan. Louis Quinlan, who's not on track with us today, was an F1 driver last year. Had an abysmal season, though. Suffered from a rash of DNFs early in the year. Same thing with Jorge Correa. Jorge Correa suffered from a lot of DNFs last year in both IRL and SRL, which is the Sandro Racing League. Coincidentally, both of those drivers participate in both of those leagues. Louis Quinlan got off to a terrible start last year, took a sabbatical, came back after Christmas, had the same rash of DNFs, unfortunately. He did finally was able to get his act together towards the end of the season, was able to put together a string of finishes, but nothing that had shown promise. He has been fast in the past, but he struggled mightily last year. Same thing with Jorge Correa, former Formula 1 driver, now in F2. As we see Marcel Haller struggle for some grips as he goes all 4 off at that corner. Jorge Correa suffered a rash of DNFs last year between IRL and SRL, and he's definitely hoping to get his act back together. And in the midst of all of that, he also started his own league in Portugal, the PTRL League, Portugal Racing League, and it blew up over the summer, adding 300 and some drivers, multi-tier Formula 1 categories to choose from. Essentially the biggest Portugal league, online league in the country, for lack of a better term. I mean, I don't think that there's another one out there that is doing what he's doing, so you can be sure to check them out online and their YouTube channel as well. And we did talk to Jorge, as we'll pick him up. He did already chime in on the live stream. We'll pick up Jorge Correa as we talk about the Portugal Racing League and everything that he's been dealing with as he's out in the hard tires. But we did talk to Jorge earlier in preseason. He's feeling pretty confident heading into the new season. He gave up some other race leagues. He wasn't just doing IRL and SRL and then obviously PTRL, but he also gave up some other race seats in other leagues to concentrate specifically on PTRL, IRL, and SRL. Which right now, PTRL is really the only league right now. They've got quite a few members, 38 drivers spread across 2 tiers. Obviously, I have my number wrong, can't read my handwriting. But had 38 drivers sign up last year, spread across 2 tiers in Formula 1 and Formula 2. So PTRL taking off quite well for him, and hopefully he'll be able to add to some of the brighter finishes that he had last year across IRL and SRL. So currently 8th quickest here at Spa in testing as he runs up the hill of Eau Rouge. And you may notice this, you may not, but a lot of the drivers are actually all going to be wearing black helmets as we pick up Nexus Aspect, who is Kevin Harrison. We pick him up, and again, all the drivers today wearing black helmets in honor of Antoine Hubert, who tragically lost his life yesterday in an F2 accident at Spa. Massive accident, and we certainly want to show and honor his memory with the black helmets. Formula 1 did the race today. All the drivers and pit crew members wore black armbands in honor of it. So we will do the black helmets for today. And certainly our prayers and thoughts and wishes go out to his mother and his brother as they were at the Formula 1 race today, with a quite touching moment of silence before the race. So Antoine Hubert, again, tragically lost his life yesterday in the F2 race, which was subsequently canceled. Caution in Sector 3, yellow flag. I got a lot of guys out on the outlap. 9 minutes left to play in the session so far. We've got Daniel Tamberg is your fastest driver. He's the only driver in the 143s with a 143.956, currently on an outlap. Next is Aspect. That was Kevin Harrison. As I try to get used to some of these new usernames, and he is second quickest with a 144.337. Right behind him is Andre, or is it Andres? That is Andre Pastana. And he is followed by Harry Cooper with a 144.379. So second, third, and fourth separated by literally thousandths of a second. They're both running all three of them are running 144.3s. Right behind them is going to be Jamie Morrison in the Mercedes, currently running a 144.762. Right behind him is Cameron Weston Edwards in the Renault, 144.772. And Cam's been a busy bee as well. He runs, obviously, going to be running F2 this year in IRL. He'll also be running in SRL again for another season, where he'll be teamed up with Rennie Vanderstapp. That's going to be a team to look forward to watching in SRL. Talked to him earlier before the session a couple weeks ago about how he felt running in the IRL F2, and he's not sure where he's going to measure up against some of these other drivers. Hasn't really raced with a lot of these guys in the F2 league. He is familiar with Jorge Correa and Jared Fosbury and James Hallworth, who's not here. He's also familiar with Louis Quinley's raced against him for a number of years. But not sure how he's going to measure up against some of these other guys. But he's currently running in 144.772. He's just a tick off of Jamie Morrison's time, a hundredth of a second. And then there's a little bit of drop in time back to Jorge Correa's 146 flat right now. Getting ready to come across the line again. Is he going to dive into the pits? Yes, he will. Can't muster anything out more than a 146 on the hard tires. Jared Fosbury also running 146.243. Comes across the line. Does improve his time. 145.120. Good enough to move him up into ninth. But that just got dropped as Josh runs a 143.998. He's the second driver to break into the 143s. Good run for him. 6:30 left to play in the session. And rounding out your top 11 driver is going to be Marcel Haller. And he's just coming across the line with a 146.999. Slowest time of the day. 9/10 off of Jorge Correa's time. Almost a full second. And on top of that, he's almost 2 seconds off of his teammate, Jared Fosbury. And look at this, the flying Cooper. Harry Cooper comes across the line, 143.822 in the Red Bull. Good enough to put him on provisional pole. So the times are starting to drop with less than 6 minutes left to play in the session. And some really good times being set here by this F2 group. Now, if anybody's familiar with what I have done in the past, I shouldn't say I've always, but for the last 2 seasons, I've commentated for IRL F1. But unfortunately, will not be able to be doing F1 this year. IRL grew substantially over the last season, and they now have F1, F2, and F3 leagues. Which is really quite impressive. The league has come a long way in the last few years. And perhaps that's where I got my numbers mixed up with IRL and PTRL. As we see the Red Bull go around. And Jamie Morrison, real quick, has jumped to the top of the charts with a 143.715. But IRL has grown substantially over the last couple seasons. Obviously running their F1, F2, and F3 leagues now. And that being said, the F1 times had to be changed versus the F2 times. So F1 is going to be running on Saturdays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, which is right in the middle of the day for me. And I did not feel that I was going to be able to commit to a full season of IRL commentating in the middle of the day on a Saturday afternoon. I have small children. I have family functions. I have other commitments that I need to be there for. So luckily, F2 is going to be running on Sunday mornings at 11:30, which is the old F1 time. I can commit a pretty much no problem full season to that. So I'll be doing F2 this year, but at least it's nice to see some familiar faces, the ones that we've talked about earlier. So look forward to doing F2 this year. And guys, check out IRL online, International Racing League-IRL.com, and be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel, because there's going to be a lot of racing going on this year. Season's going to kick off next week. Like I said, F1, F2, and F3 leagues, and plenty of reserve drivers. Had a lot of signups this year. So it's good to see the league expanding, and I'm just glad to still be a part of it in some small capacity. So we see Morrison head into the pits. So 3:30 left to play. We see a lot of guys in the pits. We got Sneaky Pete, Pastana on his way out on an outlap. Looks like he's going to be coming up to the bus stop chicane. And it looks like he is on these soft tires. And he's going to hit the ground running, see if he can muster up a little bit better time. 1:44.370. He's the first driver in the 144. He's currently 6th place as he heads into turn 1 and then down the hill to Eau Rouge. And again, we're having some audio difficulties, compliments of Codemasters, so that takes a little bit of the excitement out of there. So that, my voice is probably not the most pleasant one to listen to with nothing else going on, so I try to make it as least boring as possible as we see the DRS slot open as he heads down the Kemmel Straight. Put the lap data on for everybody as we see him come out of that corner. You've got Tamberg and Josh on a couple of outlaps. Nexus Aspect, that was Kevin Harrison. He's now 2nd quickest as he went to the pits. We missed that one a little bit. I promise I'll be more apt to the action as the season goes on. I'm just trying to get a lot of information in during the qualifying session for preseason testing. It's been a while since IRL's been back on the grid for F1. They did do their summer league, which was obviously a little bit shorter. Did it with realistic cars. I don't know if anybody kept up with that. Again, I tried to participate, failed miserably. And it looks like that was... Oh, I got a caution right there as he was coming through Sector 3. It was the start of Sector 3. It might have been because Renault of Cameron Weston Edwards was offline and going slow. Into the bus stop chicane. That's going to give him enough time to do one more lap. He's going to come across the line. 1:43.948. He improves his time, and he's up to 4th. Harry Cooper, Kevin Harrison, Jamie Morrison. Cooper looks like he's going to be the first one to cross the line for a hot lap. And then there's Dan Tamberg. He's heading into the bus stop chicane right now. So he'll start his final hot lap here in the Williams. And Tamberg is off and running. DRS slot open as he heads down into turn 1. Down the hill into Eau Rouge. Oh, and Sneaky Pete has retired from the session. That was Pastana. Down the Kemmel Straight, hard onto the brakes. And Cameron Weston Edwards has retired from the session as well. Good to see we have Lewis Marshall joining us on the live chat, as well as Ivan Brito. And it looks like Josh has retired from the session as well, and around goes Tamberg in the Williams, so he'll be done. There goes the Ferrari. So Harry Cooper's going to be coming up to that section here shortly. Harrison now getting into that section as well. Oh, and look at this! The Mercedes of Jamie Morrison goes off, and that is probably going to invalidate his time. Luckily, he's sitting on provisional pole with a 1:43.715, so he'll be done for the day, I'm sure. And around goes the Sauber. Oh, it was very close to the back end coming around. Big twitch in the middle of the corner. And he has called it a day. That was Kevin Harrison, lost grip, so he throws that lap away, finishes it and calls it a day. Harry Cooper now running down into Sector 3, going to be coming up to the bus stop chicane here. Does he have anything for Jamie Morrison's time? It's looking pretty good. I think he's going to be a tick off maybe. 1:43.536 to the top of the charts. 0.2 of a second over Jamie Morrison. Morrison's coming to the bus stop chicane now. I don't think his time is going to count, though, as he went 4 off at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Oh, and now we've got audio. How about that? And apparently Morrison does go 1/10 of a second quicker to pick up the provisional pole. So preseason pole going to Jamie Morrison, Harry Cooper followed behind him, Kevin Harrison, Andre Pastana, Daniel Tamberg, Josh, Jared Fosbury, Marcel Holler, Cameron Weston Edwards, Nexus Iceman, who I still don't have the information on him, and Jorge Correa, rounding out your top 11 drivers. And unfortunately, I don't know who Leon is, but apparently me and him are both streaming the F2 race. Fairly confident somebody should be streaming the F3 preseason testing. It looks like we've got some overcast skies here at Spa, which isn't unheard of, in the rolling hills of Belgium. And on a 4-mile track, it can be raining on one side of the track and not on the other, so it makes for a very difficult crossover change if they do have to switch from wets to dries or dries to intermediates or whatever the case may be. And we are off on the formation lap. So Jamie Morrison going to be starting on pole position for the preseason test, followed by Harry Cooper, who was beat out by 1/10 of a second. Bear with me here 1 second here. Having some technical difficulties. Okay. I think we got things straight now. Long formation lap. Jamie Morrison sitting on pole. Harry Cooper starting in second. Kevin Harrison putting in a very competitive lap time, starting in third. And it's good to have some audio this time around. Andre Pastana starting in fourth. Oh, and look at this. We've got a car off there. Luckily, that is the formation lap, and that's not going to matter. Daniel Tamberg starting in fifth. Josh starting sixth. Jared Fosbury in seventh. Marcel Holler in the other Ferrari is eighth. Cameron Weston Edwards ninth. Iceman in 10th. And Jorge Correa rounding out your top 11 drivers. Now, Jorge Correa will be starting on the, it's like the hard tire, I guess, or the soft tire. I know that it's confusing this year what they've done with tires. Apparently all the tire compounds are the same as last year, but they only bring 3 of them instead of all 5 to the track. There we go. Here's a good shot. 5 red lights. Lights out. Time to run with LeBrun. We're off for preseason test number 1 here at Spa. And a good start by Harry Cooper as he goes around the outside. Gets the power down, and it looks like Jamie Morrison's already lost the spot. Tucks in behind Harry Cooper, and their nose to tail. 1, 2, and 3. Up, down, Air Rouge. Onto the Kemmel straight at the top of Radion. And to the outside goes Jamie Morrison. It's a drag race down the front stretch. Oh, and what is this? Look at this aspect. That's Kevin Harrison. What's he going to do? And he gets a little bump from behind by Tamberg. Pistana goes to the inside of Tamberg. Tries to push him on. He loses the back end. Got some shuffling going on in the back. We've got Josh making a move on Jared Fosbury. Fosbury's going to lose another spot. And now we've got side-by-side action with Marcel Haller and the Iceman. We got a pass for position here. That's Jorge Correa on Iceman now. Meanwhile, it looks like Cameron Weston Edwards is running into some issues at the start of the race. He's now 10 seconds off. Things settling out a little bit at the front, but Josh is trying to make a move on Pistana for position. And Harry Cooper, look at this. Jamie Morrison trying to make a move. He's got the more preferred line. Cooper trying to get the power down. He's going to have the position on him coming down to turn 1. They're side by side as they head into the hairpin. Brake rotors are glowing. And now Morrison was in danger of losing a position to Harrison. Ooh, it's going to get a little hairy up there, and I don't mean Harry Cooper. I mean squirrely here at the top. 4 cars, nose to tail, down the Kemmel straight. Drag racing down the straightaway again, and look at this. Oh, Morrison just couldn't make it happen. And now look at this. 3 wide as they come out of the corner. Tamberg's going to try and come out on top, get a 2-for-1 deal. Can't make it happen. He does get to the inside, pushes him wide. Can't find a way around Harris, though. Harrison, I should say. And Cooper now starting to make a gap. He's got a 2nd-plus lead over Morris. But now we've got a 3-way battle. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That is Harrison, Tamberg, and Fosbury coming into view now. Oh, what has happened? Cooper lost the car. He's gone around into the wall. And Cameron Weston Edwards has called it a day. Not sure what happened to him. So now look at this. Jamie Morris is now leading out in front. That's going to move Kevin Harris. And now look at this. Lost position from Fosbury. Tamberg gets around him. And now around the outside is Sneaky Pete. Trying to pull fast one. That's Pistana trying to get around Fosbury. So lap 3, we've got a yellow flag in sector 1. What's happened now? Oh my lord, that was close. Kevin Harris lost it at the top of Radion. And now here comes Harry Cooper. These two were battling for the lead less than half a lap ago, and now they're battling for 9th position. My, how things change. Fosbury moves into the third spot. Meanwhile, Jamie Morris is now pulled out to almost a 2-second gap over the rest of the field. Third, fourth, and fifth, battling it within tenths of a second of each other. Fosbury in third, followed by Andre Pastana, followed by Josh, or Joshua. 9867, no last name for that gentleman. And now Jorge Correa. Oh, that's not Correa. That's Pastana on the back of the Ferrari. Now Tamberg's starting to come under pressure, so now we're about to have a 5-car battle here. Side by side, Fosbury to the inside, he makes contact and he's into the wall. Luckily for him, damage seems to be off as he goes around, so that's going to move Josh into the 4th spot. And look at this, Jamie Morrison's lost the position to Daniel Tamberg. They're side by side. 3-second time penalty for Marcel Haller. And a side-by-side behind him is Pastana and Josh as they come out of the first corner, hairpin. The DRS should be enabled at this point as they head up through Eau Rouge. Look at these two, the DRS slots open on both of them. Who's got the better line? Oh, Pastana trying to make it work. That was very close. Meanwhile, Morris is trying to work back to the front, trying to get to the gearbox of Daniel Tamberg and the Williams. The pit window is going to be opening up here in the next lap or two for some of these guys on the softer tires. Still half a second gap. Morris can't seem to get any closer than that. He's probably going to get a little bit of aero wash off of the front of that car through the high speed section here. Meanwhile, it's a second back to this battle for third. This is Josh with Andre Pastana. Oh, Pastana very close. He's going to try and take the inside line, go to the bus stop chicane. Josh is defending to the inside. Oh, a little bit of a glitch there. They make a little bit of contact, wheel-to-wheel action. Can't make it work. And Josh holding off Pastana now. But it looks like he's going to be being able to have to hold off the whole Haas team here in a minute, as Jorge Correa has started dead last and worked his way to 5th. And yes, Lewis Marshall back in the chat. 3-second time penalty for Pastana. He's got the DRS slot open. Oh, but look at this, Josh to the inside. He cuts that corner quite deep in. And now Josh finds himself in the middle of a Haas sandwich. Meanwhile, Tamberg trying to put a move on Morrison. Actually, this is Morrison trying to put a move on Tamberg to get back around him. Oh, and he tries the undercut. Crossover move, can't make it work. He's going to have the inside line heading into the corner. He thinks twice if he gets back in line. They both run very wide. Tamberg's got to stay close with him. Oh, he went very wide over the curbs. Unable to stick with him. He's in the slipstream of him. To get a good run down towards the bus stop chicane, he might be able to make a move before getting back onto the front stretch. Doesn't look like he's close enough. How deep does he want to go on the brakes? Very close. Not close enough. Meanwhile, Pastana has been able to move into third. Josh is still stuck in the middle of the Haas sandwich. Jorge Correa is starting to come under threat from Marcel Haller, who's been pretty quiet this race, trying to work his way through the field, but he hasn't quite had the pace of the other cars. Meanwhile, Tamberg gets a good run coming out of the hairpin, down through Illusion, up to the right down to Camel Straight. He'll have the DRS advantage in the Rocket Williams. Now can he find a way to rocket his way around the Mercedes of Morris? He's got the DRS slot open, and Morris is going to have to tuck back in. So another change for first spot there. Meanwhile, Pastana has quietly been trying to close that gap. 1.3 seconds back to third spot. And in the midst of all this happening, it looks like we've lost Harry Cooper. Kimber Weston Edwards retired early. Harry Cooper was leading the race at one point and lost the car. He was battling for ninth with Kevin Harrison, but looks like he's called it a day at one point. Oh, and again. And Jared Fosbury picks up a 3-second time penalty. And again, that was the second lap in a row that Tamberg has gone very wide at that curbing. Almost lost the back end. Morris is very close now. He goes, swings to the outside. Oh, and he's able to get back in front of Tamberg. Tamberg now finds himself in the same position as last lap. Catches up a little bit under braking, but he's not close enough to make a move. So Tamberg again will have the advantage of the DRS if he can stick with Morris. He's very close to him through turn one. Rouge hangs on to it. Not the best line, but Tamberg once again finding himself trying to work his way around the Mercedes to the inside. Oh, and look at this. Morris is going to hang tough on the outside. He's able to hold him off, and they bump. And again, side to side. Look at this. Tamberg cuts through the grass. And around the outside. And while all this is happening, Pastana has been able to close the gap to 0.7 of a second. He's there for this battle. Now this is where Morris made up the time. Last time around he was able to stick with Tamberg in the Williams and draft off of him and was able to make the pass before getting to the bus stop chicane. Pastana is going to be able to possibly use the draft as well on Morris. And if they go side by side, that could really benefit Pastana. You could use the effect of the double draft. Nobody's close enough to make a move, though, as they head towards the bus stop chicane. And there goes Morris into the pits. Tamberg's going to hang on in the position. That's going to move Pastana into second spot. He'll have the DRS advantage now. Can he close the gap to Tamberg in the Williams? Tamberg got a real good run out of the bus stop chicane. And Pastana's going to have the advantage of the DRS, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move at the end of the straightaway. And these cars were so close together. Morris comes out of the pits in 9th position, 6 seconds behind Jared Fosbury in 8th, but he is the first one to make a pit stop. And it looks like Pastana's lost a little bit of ground now to Tamberg. Josh, meanwhile, has been able to close the gap with the McLaren to the Haas of Pastana. Meanwhile, Jorge Correa has been hanging tough in 4th spot. Really good run from him. This is the closest battle on track now. This is Josh in the McLaren trying to size up Andre Pastana in the Haas for second spot. However, the pit window is open for a lot of these drivers now out on the softer tires. Morse was the first one to pit. And it looks like Josh is heading in. Ooh, and a little bump there by Pastana as he heads in. That moves Jorge Correa into the first spot. He'll be able to run a long first stint because he's on the harder compound. Tamberg stays out on track. He's followed by Iceman. And lots of action in the pits right now. Out comes Pastana, followed by Josh. And he is followed by the Ferrari of Marcel Haller, who is followed by Kevin Harrison, who is followed by Jared Fosbury. Meanwhile, the Iceman gets around Daniel Tamberg. Tamberg, I don't believe, is pitted yet. The top three cars have yet to pit. Two of those out of those three are on the harder tires. So far the strategy has worked for Jorge Correa and Iceman as they both started on the harder compound and have run it well into the first stint. Meanwhile, Jamie Morris would be the driver to watch. He was the first one to pit. He's now moved into the fourth spot, 9 seconds behind third, Daniel Tamberg, and that's a 3-second time penalty for Marcel Haller. That's the second time at least that I've seen that pop up. Look at lap 9 of 22. Look at this Tamberg now going around the outside. Iceman's got the more preferred line. A little bit of a lockup with the front tires there. And what Tamberg, if he was going to be pitting, that was probably not the smartest move for him to make, trying to get around the Iceman at the bus stop chicane. So that's going to move Jamie Morris into the third position. And now Jamie Morris is on the harder compound as well. He's on the medium tire, which was last year's soft tire. So you can see the reverse strategy being run by Jorge Correa and Iceman as they are both out on the medium tires. They've been out there since the flag is dropped. Working on their 10th lap currently on those. Up at Morris picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could cost them towards the end of the race. And then the reverse strategy there is everybody else started on the softer tire and ran a shorter first stint. So it'll be interesting to see when Naz, which is Jorge Correa, and Iceman pit, they'll be on the softer tires. Interesting to see how that'll come into effect towards the end of the second stint, towards the end of this race, really. And Josh picks up a 3-second time penalty. So the car's fairly well spread out at this point. Yellow flag in Sector 2. Jorge Correa. Uh-oh, and Marcel Haller. Looks like he was the caution in Sector 2, now Sector 3. And Jared Fosbury as well. Both Ferraris are now out. Looks like they've called it a day. We're going to jump on board with Jorge Correa. Take a lap around Spa-Francorchamps down through Eau Rouge to the top of Radion onto the Kemmel Straight. You can hear the scraping of the under tray onto the ground. Runs a little wide there, getting a little bit of push, possibly some understeer in those front tires. So they're getting a little worn. little bit of snap oversteer. The back end almost wanted to come around as he's coming off of that curbing. Now from this section on, you're going to be flat out all the way down to the bus stop chicane. Almost 200 miles an hour before having to slam onto the brakes. Then back out onto the front stretch, and that is a lap around Spa-Francorchamps with Jorge Correa currently leading lap 12 of 22. So we started with 11 drivers, we're now down to 7. And not a good preseason debut for the Team Ferrari. That's Marcel Haller and Jared Fosbury. They both 8th and 9th. Harry Cooper struggled. He was leading the race at one point, went around, and then called it a day. And I believe Cameron Weston Edwards called it a day early because he was loaded the wrong setup onto the car and was struggling with grip. He was 10 seconds off after the first opening couple of laps, actually. After the opening lap, he was 10 seconds off the pace. Ran into some issues on the start and fell back. Jamie Moore is currently the fastest car on track. And he is waiting for Jorge Correa and Iceman to pit, because once they do, that'll put him into the top spot. We're going to battle for what is probably going to end up being second place, depending on how the strategies fall. But this is Josh working his way to the backside of Andre Pastana. This is currently for the 4th position, which could easily become the 2nd position after Jorge Correa and Iceman make their pit stop. And Correa and Iceman probably aren't going to have to pit for a couple of more laps at least. Under a second now, though. Josh has got the DRS advantage, and that's going to be huge. He can get a good run out of this hairpin here. Stick to the backside of that Haas, and he'll get a good run coming to the top of Eau Rouge and Radion. Not close enough. Meanwhile, Jorge Correa has held steadfast out in front, 3.5 seconds ahead of Iceman. And I have to say that Jamie Morris is not making up a whole lot of time on the top 2 cars, which is inconsequential at this point, because he's going to be granted first once those 2 pit. However, though he hasn't gained any time, he's lost a little bit of time to Pastana and Josh as these 2 battle is starting to heat up. They were both over 2.5 seconds behind Morris. Morris lost a little bit of time. It was down to 1.8. Looks like he's spreading it back out. It's right around the 2-second mark right now. There you see Morris just goes out of frame, and here comes Sneaky Pete. Pastana and Josh almost nose to tail. About half a second splits them. Oh, and he catches up big time under braking. He was nowhere to be seen, and then all of a sudden he was there. And now Morris is finally going to move into the 2nd spot. Iceman couldn't take it any longer. Had to move in from the pits. But Pastana is now getting 1.2 seconds. So Morris is losing time to these 2 cars. Iceman's going to come out in 7th. He's only a half second behind Daniel Tamberg. However, Iceman's going to be on the softer of the 3 compounds that were brought to the track this weekend. So he should be able to make quick work of Daniel Tamberg and Kevin Harrison. Meanwhile, Josh is still trying to find a way around Andre Pastana. And Pastana is still trying to find a way to close that gap just a little bit. He had it down to 1.2. Morris has now been able to spread it back out to 1.9, almost 2 seconds. Ooh, and Josh now trying to find a way. Cuts to the inside, a little bit too much over the curb. Hard back on the throttle coming out of that corner. Still half-second gap. Now Morris is starting to... Oh, and look at this. Jorge Correa finally makes his pit stop. So that moves Jamie Morris into the lead. And now with clean air, nobody in front of him, is he going to be able to make that gap grow as Josh and Pastana continue to battle it out for the second spot? And now Josh is close enough to make a move, swings to the outside. DRS slot open, but they're side by side as they head into the corner, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Works his way around the outside, power move to make the position work. And second spot for Josh in the McLaren. Meanwhile, Jorge Correa has come out in the 5th spot behind Kevin Harrison. And right behind him, now this is surprising, Daniel Tamberg's been able to hold on to that 6th spot. Iceman hasn't been able to find a way around him, even though Iceman's on the fresher and softer tires. And look at this, Jorge Correa now all over the backside of Kevin Harrison's Alfa Romeo. Ooh, very close there. And now Correa's actually giving up some ground to Daniel Tamberg and Iceman. So it's a 4-car battle here. This is 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. The top 3 are all separated by a second. Jamie Morris is your leader. He's a second and a half over of Josh. Josh is now 0.8 of a second ahead of Andre Pastana. But here's the real battle. Kevin Harris, Jorge Correa, Daniel Tamberg, and Iceman all running nose to tail. And Correa not close enough to make a move at the end of the straight. Meanwhile, Pastana's been able to close the gap back up to Josh for the 2nd spot. Correa is now side by side. He's going to try and make a move down to the inside. Switch back and forth from Haas to Haas. And now they're side by side again. He's going to try a crossover move here. Not going to be able to make it work. And he get a run down towards the next corner. It's downhill left-hander. He's going to go around the outside. I don't think that's going to work. He's going to make it work. Power move by Jorge Correa to take the spot. Oh, and there's contact between the Sauber and Daniel Tamberg. Harrison and Tamberg make wheel-to-wheel contact. That could have ended in catastrophe for those drivers. But a power move by Jorge Correa to make that work. And now Tamberg is going to lose another spot, possibly to Iceman. Iceman's been trying to work his way around him for the past number of laps since he came out of the pits. And then back towards the front, we've got a 3-way battle for the lead now. We're just picking this up. Morris, Josh, and Pastana, 1, 2, 3, nose to tail. So we've got 2 battles going on for multi-car battles. 1 for the lead, 1 for 4th spot. All separated within 10ths of seconds of each other. So here's your first battle. This is Jamie Morris followed by Josh, followed by Andre Pastana. Oh no, and there goes the McLaren, big time crash. Josh lost it at the top of Radion. Luckily, damage is off for the preseason testing underway. That would have ended his day. And it looks like he got some air wash through Eau Rouge, and he lost the front end of the car, and the back end came around. So big time crash. So now that battle that was for fourth has now become a battle for third, as you see Korea running in the third spot, followed closely by Kevin Harrison, who's followed by Daniel Tamberg, and Iceman, who can't seem to find a way around. And Josh is all the way back into the 7th spot. And it looks like he's off the pace. He may call it a day. So Pastana looking to try and close this gap and get around what has been a very impressive run by Jamie Morris. Now, I do know Morris has at least one 3-second time penalty, which could cost him towards the end of this race. I'm not 100% sure about Pastana. I did not keep track of who had what penalties and how many this time around for the preseason test. And look at this. Naz, that is Jorge Correa, just ran the fastest lap of the race at a 1:46.739. Pastana's going to have the DRS slot open. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to make a move. Thinks about it towards the end of the straight, but he's not close enough. Cuts that corner very tight. Four laps to go in what has been a very exciting preseason exhibition race. Oh no, and Morris goes wide coming into that corner. Tamberg picks up a 3-second time penalty. The battle's still going on back there. That is the battle for the 4th spot. Ooh, runs a little wide there. Pastana almost goes 4 off and almost into the gravel. Oh, and he's very wide through there. Might be getting a little bit of air wash through the first section of this course here. Might be getting some air wash through that section of the course, is what I meant to say. Into the bus stop chicane. Thought about it, but he thought twice of it. Stayed in line. DRS slot open. Not much can be had here on the front stretch. Ooh, gives him a little bump. And we've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. And that is Kevin Harris. Looks like he is going around. Harrison's lost the back end of the car. Josh works his way around. That's going to put him back into 6th. Meanwhile, we'll pick up the battle again for... Oh, and what is this? Bobbing and weaving, and I'm not sure how the stewards are going to look at that. And it looks like Morris is going to let Pastana go by, so that was a very interesting little sequence there. Looks like there was a 3-second time penalty for Jorge Correa, and now Morris, I guess, gave up the position and is now trying to take it back. So the battle rages on between these two. And I don't think Pastana was too happy with the move that Morris made on the Kemmel Straight there. A lot of weaving going on. I don't know what that was about. He gave up the position. Looks like he's taking it back. Maybe in good faith to try and not get penalized. I mean, it is an exhibition race, so little could be had in the way of penalties at the end of the race. But it does give a driver a good indication of what he might be facing this year. Now can Pastana make a move down at the bus stop chicane? Flat out through that left-hander. And it looks like that Mercedes, it looks like Morris might have a little bit different drag setup. He's been able to stay out in front of Pastana. Meanwhile, while all this has been taking place, that battle for the 4th position has settled down quite a bit. I think a lot of that had to do with the spin from Kevin Harrison. And now once again, Pastana swings to the outside. He's going to have the DRS advantage. Ooh, able to shut the door on Morris. Now can he hold him off for the next couple of laps? Morris has been very fast in this middle sector here. These next couple of corners right here, he takes that very interesting wide line and he's able to get the power down. And he's going to have the better position. It's 2 laps in a row that he's been able to do that. So Pastana's got a little bit more top-end speed with that DRS advantage on the Kemmel Straight. But he's not able to hold him off in this middle sector. So it looks like the balance on that Mercedes, looks like Morrison may have nailed the setup on the car. He's been very good at keeping Pastana at bay. And again, he's going to have the slipstream coming down to the bus stop chicane. He's not going to be close enough to make a move, though. He may think differently when it's the last lap, but right now he's not doing any dive bomb. Pastana's been driving a really good, solid race. I'd hate to see him throw it away on a silly move. And again, DRS slot open. Gonna try and make a move right towards the end. Not close enough. The top end on that Mercedes right now is almost as fast, if not faster, than the DRS slot being open on the Haas, which is really interesting. That means Morris is probably running a really low drag setup. And if that's the case, then he's got a lot of mechanical grip built into the car to make him very quick in this second sector. This is where Morris has been able to maintain or take back his position over Pastana in the Haas. And again, gets the slipstream. Pastana's just not able to get close enough to make a move. Closes up a lot there under braking. So finally working the last lap here. 22 of 22, DRS slot open. Can Pastana make a last-ditch effort to get around Morris for the win of this exhibition race for preseason testing? Down through Eau Rouge. He's trying to stay close to him. This is where Josh lost the front end of the car. Ended up slamming head onto the barriers a few laps ago. DRS slot open. Swings to the inside. He's able to get the move. And he's around him now. But this is where Morris is going to end up taking the position back. Can Pastana hold him off this time? Great run out of that corner by Morris. And again, around the outside. And this time, Pastana tries to push him wide. He's able to make it work just a little bit. Oh, but look at Morris is going to push back. No, pushes him wide as well. Now they're side by side. And that is not going to work heading down to the sweeping left-hander. And Morris is all over the back end of the Haas. Oh, and around the outside, Morris is going to take it back. Oh, they bang wheels. And again, Pastana not able to keep the position. He drops the left side tires in the grass. Pastana's in position. Can he make a last-ditch effort here going into the bus stop chicane? We talked about it a couple laps ago. He hasn't done anything dirty or dive-bombed him yet. To the outside, he's going to try and outbrake him. Very late on the brakes. Can he hold the position? Gets to the inside, power back down, crossover move by Morse, but he can't make it work, and he's got the DRS advantage. And Sneaky Pete is going to take your exhibition race preseason test win here at Spa. Jamie Morris coming home in second. Iceman's going to come home third because of time penalties. Jorge Correa comes across the line third, but drops to fourth. Daniel Tamberg in fifth. Josh coming across the line in what is going to be a seventh spot as he lets the other car go by. So here we go. Andre Pastana on top of the podium from Portugal in the PTRL League. A great showing today for him and the Haas team with his teammate Jorge Correa representing PTRL. Jamie Morris showing a very strong outing in the Mercedes. Some really good hard driving between those two. Iceman quietly somehow came home in third. I think that was Iceman, or was it Kevin Harrison? It was Iceman, so your official results. Andre Pastana bringing home the win, Jamie Morris in second, Iceman third, Jorge Correa fourth, Daniel Tamberg in fifth, Kevin Harrison sixth, Josh is seventh, Marcel Haller eighth, Jared Fosbury ninth, Harry Cooper is 10th, and Cameron Weston Edwards rounding out the 11 drivers that participated in today's exhibition race. So guys, that was F2. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment to this YouTube channel and check it out for more racing action coming this year. F1 League, F2 League, and an F3 League all running this year. They had a lot of driver signups. Check us out online, International Racing League-IRL.com. And then we also have a Twitter page as well, which is F1_IRL. Not 100% on that one. I'll get that in for you for next time. So season kicks off next week, and I don't know what track we're at. I don't have a schedule. I've been given very little info coming into today, but man, what an exciting race. A good showing for Haas. It was really good to see Jorge Correa run a really competitive race, along with his teammate, Pastana. Lots of good action on track. Lots of drivers to watch out for this year in F2. It should be definitely an interesting season, so be sure to check us out. Going to be Sundays at 11:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. I'll be commentating the F2 races. You can also check out the F3 races, which I believe will be running at the same time. Same channel, but a different commentator. Also, F1 will be running on Saturdays, 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check that out. Also, Gran Turismo Sport Group 3 League is going to be doing their preseason test next week. And we'll be kicking off on the 14th of September for Season 3 of Group 3 racing on Gran Turismo Sport. We'll have a new commentator for that, I believe. Sondre Sorhaug will be joining us on track this year instead of commentating, so it'd be good to be on track with him. So be sure to check that out as well. Like and subscribe, comment to the YouTube channel. Also check me out, KAMIKAZE-FOX. You can like, subscribe, and comment to my YouTube channel as well. Be sure to check us out next week. Same F1 time, same F1 channel. IRL is where it's going to be at this year. We'll see you at the next round.